Joining me now is entertainment business and compliance lawyer Seth Berenzweig. Seth, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. If you just look at the numbers, obviously the Paramount deal is a higher number in terms of what they're willing to pay for Warner Brothers. What's your reaction to this hostile fight?
I think this lawsuit really starts to smell like an act of desperation. A company cannot sue their way into a deal. The board of Warner Brothers has made it pretty clear how it's exercised its business judgment on why it wants to go with Netflix. Now, we can agree or disagree with the board, but under traditional basic rules of corporate governance and corporate democracy, they have provided their recommendation and their belief that Netflix has the better deal. There are several grounds that they've stated. They've stated that the offer that has been provided by Paramount is laden with too much debt. It's too much of a debt-laden deal. They believe that this is a way going with Netflix to keep the studio intact. This will allow them to keep their cable TV assets and to maximize their value. And people can disagree, but there's really no way to sue your way to the closing table. So I don't think this lawsuit's going to work. There'll probably be a motion to dismiss. If Paramount wants to close this deal, then they should raise their price. So I agree with Warner Brothers and Netflix that if that's what they want to do, then they're certainly very welcome and free to do so.
Well, I mean, look, it sounds like they're suing to get more information out to shareholders. I mean, I think what Paramount is saying is that Warner Brothers has not shared the details of the specifics on its bid, and why would shareholders not want to actually scrutinize both bids? I mean, and you say you can't sue your way into acquiring a company, okay, but can they sue their way into getting more information to shareholders?
Well, generally they can, but the problem is that in this instance, there's been relatively open transparency about why the board believes that this is not an adequately clear, sufficient bid to be able to outbid the Netflix offer. And they've been relatively clear about that to the shareholders. The board does have a fiduciary duty to make sure that they are very clear to the shareholders as to why it's operating in the best financial interest of the company. So you're absolutely right. The board has that obligation. The problem is that the board has articulated specific reasons. Now, of course, Paramount's come in and said, well, yes, it's true that we're not going after the cable TV assets. They're really not worth very much. Well, value is in the eye of the beholder. So it's really a question of quantitative and qualitative balancing. I predict that if they really want to raise their offer, then they'll certainly do that, because I don't think this lawsuit is going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, but what about the cable assets? I mean, look, Netflix doesn't want the cable assets. So what happens then? I mean, Paramount is saying, I'll buy everything, including the cable assets.
Well, that's true, but with the Netflix deal, that means that Warner Brothers can hold on to those assets. They can continue to either hold them and maximize their value, or they can spin them off and then they can sell them. The folks at Paramount have said that those assets are really not worth much more than maybe $1 per share. The board at Warner Brothers has said that they're close to more than $3 or $4 a share. And in the corporate world, we can get appraisals that can vary, and reasonable people can differ. However, really the only legal question is whether the board has met its fiduciary obligations and responsibilities to fairly and openly balance the deal as has been offered by Paramount. Okay. So if Paramount wants to close this deal, they need more cash.